Today we're going to check out this amplified indoor AM/FM radio antenna. This is the curved panel model AT212FM from Antop. And this antenna is pretty much ready to go out of the box. The antenna connections are already attached to the antenna for AM and FM. You get a nice clear set of instructions. You get a USB power supply to power the internal amplifier. And depending on the antenna connections on your receiver, there are a couple of adapters included. We'll go through those in a minute. The amplifier on this antenna offers a gain of 3 decibels on AM radio and 25 decibels on FM radio. A small U-shaped stand is included, and these pins just fit into holes on the back of the antenna, and you can orient it in either a vertical or a horizontal position. Here in North America, FM signals are horizontally polarized, so I'll be setting it up in a horizontal orientation. For the AM connection on this antenna, it's the standard 2-wire antenna ground connection. And if you have a receiver that requires a 3-wire connection for your AM antenna, then there is an adapter included for that. For the FM antenna connection, there is a 75 ohm coaxial cable connector already installed on the antenna, and that should work for most modern radio receivers that have this 75 ohm connector built in for FM. Now, if you have an older receiver that has the European style IEC connector, there is an adapter included. All you have to do is twist this onto the coax cable, and that will allow you to connect this antenna to your receiver. And if you have an even older receiver with the twin screw lead connections for FM, then you can use a 75 ohm transformer that will convert your 75 ohm coax connection to a 300 ohm balance connection, and that will allow you to connect this antenna to your older receiver. So my receiver has the standard 2-wire AM antenna connection and the standard coaxial cable connector for FM. And now that it's all hooked up, let's talk about the performance of this antenna. I had no problems receiving all of my local FM stations with this antenna. In Thunder Bay, we have sort of a mix of stations of various formats. This antenna had no problem picking up all of the local FM stations. I don't want to play too much copyrighted radio content, so if you look at the screen, you can see that my receiver has a little indicator that lights up tuned when a station is received. So you can see that every time that lights up, I'm stopping at a local FM station here on the dial. Now we have a couple of weaker FM stations here in the city that are relatively difficult to pick up indoors, but this antenna was able to pick them up clear enough that you could listen to them. 90.5 FM is like a local weather, traffic, community information station. It's very weak, very tough to pick up inside a building. And 102.7 is our local university radio station. I think it only broadcasts with about 134 watts, so it's kind of sketchy reception throughout the city. Indoors, kind of tricky to pick up, but this antenna did the job quite well. Now, depending on weather and atmospheric conditions, this antenna was able to pick up several FM radio stations from across Lake Superior from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And we're talking a distance there of anywhere between probably 94 to about 118 miles away. Now, usually I would need an outdoor antenna to receive those stations best. But again, when the weather conditions are right, this antenna will receive several of those stations. So it's probably best suited for picking up local FM stations within your city or suburban area. But if you have the right kind of atmospheric or tropospheric conditions, then you might be able to pick up some distant FM stations with this antenna as well. Now, on the AM band, there aren't any active AM radio stations in the Thunder Bay area. There's really no AM stations anywhere near Thunder Bay. So it kind of is what it is. I did try to pick up a few stations at night, but I had no luck picking up any AM stations with this antenna at night. I find in my area to pick up long distance AM stations at night, you really need to use some kind of a long wire or loop antenna. If you're thinking about buying this antenna, check the description of this video for a link with a special discount code for my viewers. I really like the look of this antenna, and I think it's the ideal alternative if you're looking for an external radio antenna to use with your receiver, but you don't want to tack up a big FM dipole antenna to the wall, or you can't use an outdoor radio antenna, then the performance of this one certainly will not compete with an outdoor antenna. But for a small indoor antenna with a very small footprint that looks good, I think that this AT212 antenna from Antop, it would be a great antenna to have if you're just looking for reliable reception of your local FM radio stations, with the possibility of picking up some distant stations as well.